What's going on, everybody? John here with MachMotorsport, and today we are on a bit of a road trip. We are heading to the other side of Toronto area, to Oshawa to be specific. And ever since taking possession of my beautiful and beloved Ford Bronco, I have been kind of searching for a little bit of a toy. Naturally, the racer in me, the auto enthusiast in me, is never just content with leaving things alone. And the Bronco's purpose has always just been to be a great daily driver for what I do on a day-to-day basis. It's served its purpose, and I honestly can't speak any more highly of this particular vehicle. I love it, and if any modifications are going to come its way, it's probably going to be in the form of maybe some wheels and tires, and that's pretty much it, because I'd like to keep it stock, and truthfully, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. If anything, I may take on a little bit of like a overland build and just kind of add to it, put a hitch on it, talking about maybe going camping, maybe do the roof rack. I don't know. There's so many options. Who knows? But for the time being, like I said, the automobile enthusiast in me needs to tinker, and I need a bit of a toy. So, kind of backtracking, going back to when I was a teen and I was able and eligible to buy a car and have my license, I've always been a Honda guy, all right? Everybody in my family has owned Hondas. My mom, my grandfather, all of my uncles, like everybody, we were just a Honda family. So Honda does run thick in my blood. As a matter of fact, I started my automotive career at a Honda dealership and essentially moved around different dealerships, different Honda dealerships, inevitably moving into management role before I left the automotive industry with a Honda store. And I've owned everything from Civics, CRXs, even my Civic Type R, S2000, I mean, you name it. Honda is just, I mean, words cannot describe in terms of the amount of appreciation I have for them as a automotive brand and their racing heritage and pedigree. Being a big Formula One guy, I mean, it's obvious that they have a insurmountable amount of history tied into Formula One, and being a Senna fan and all that other good stuff. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I won't bore you to death anymore, but this morning we are on our way to go look at a vehicle. As I mentioned earlier, kind of been looking for something to tinker with, but I wanted something a little bit different. I've had a lot of new cars, I've modified a lot of brand new cars, and there's nothing wrong with a lot of our modern everyday sports cars. However, there's something to be said about the older classics, not just from a nostalgic point of view, and I have to admit the car I'm going to look at today certainly hits me from a nostalgia, sort of point, but I mean, it also is just kind of the simplicity of these older cars. You can't beat the simplicity of these classic cars, and if you haven't guessed, it's definitely a Honda. I'm not going to allude as to what model, but it is one that is very special to me, and I will tell you that my very first car was a 93 Honda Civic Si Coupe. Now, that's not to say that's what we're going to go look at. However, it is certainly in the same family. So, let's go for a ride. We're heading into Oshawa. I've got an hour and 23 minutes to kill. So, let's see how this goes. Alright guys, so I finally have arrived, and let me tell you, it was definitely better than I expected. I honestly have been searching around for cars, and even throughout my years purchasing different vehicles, it's always a gamble. It's always a bit of a lottery when you're looking for used vehicles, especially ones that are like 25 years old. You know what it's like. You get in the classifieds, everybody's car's mint, everything, every car's got low mileage. But ultimately, there are very few people that are going to be really forthcoming about everything with the vehicle. And this gentleman has been absolutely forthcoming. He's been straightforward, very full disclosure, and I couldn't have been any more pleased. Honestly, I'm so delighted with what I had found. And yeah, I'm really excited about this. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger on this. Yeah, I think it'd be silly not to. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let this guy know that we're going to move forward with this purchase. And send him the money, e-transfer it, maybe go to the bank, and we'll go from there. All right, so it's been a quick minute, and what an adventure. I went to the bank, I got a draft done, all sorts of stuff. Handed the draft over to the new owner. I got the ownership in hand. Here it is here. And lo and behold, I go run to our Ministry of Transportation here, which is like the DMV for you folks in the States, and gonna get a set of plates, get the car officially into my name, hand over all the paperwork to them, and they're like, you need to get an appraisal done on this vehicle. And I'm like, what do you mean? We have to purchase a used vehicle information package, which is basically a kind of a full disclosure package of the vehicle and its ownership, and of course if there's any liens on the vehicle, but moreover it gives the value of the vehicle or value range, and then you pay taxes based on that value because the government wants their piece of the pie. Now, unbeknownst to me, when a vehicle is of this vintage, it doesn't actually have a tax amount on there, and it requires an appraisal done so that they can assess the tax value, charge you the tax, and get it registered in your name. So it looks like I am unable to get a set of plates for the vehicle, unable to get a trip permit for the vehicle, meaning I'm going to have to tow this home. And I'm like 200 kilometers away from my house. And I suspect that's going to be a very expensive tow. Well, let's see what we can do. All right, guys, we are back. The car has finally arrived. I'm back at my building here. And if you can see it behind me, boom. There it is. Massive shout out to Alpine Towing and Storage out of Oshawa. These guys hooked it up. Flatbed, everything. Once I told them to take the car and what it was, they did not hesitate. They were like, you know what? We will definitely get a flatbed out there, and we'll get this vehicle home safely for you. And they did it at a really, really, really reasonable cost. Not gonna lie, I received the number of quotes, and truthfully, this was probably the most reasonable. Given the cost of fuel right now, it's kind of ridiculous. You know, diesel right now is like through the roof and everything, so I was, you know, really pleased with the sort of savings or the cost. So anyway, yeah, so we're just unloading it here, and then I'm going to be taking it from here basically right into the parking garage, which is just behind me there, and then until we can get the vehicle appraised and safetied and all that other good stuff. So yeah, there we are.